Hey guys, today I'm revealing secret number 4, and that is how the sequence of return can either make or break your retirement, and why using the rule of 4% may not actually work out for you. It may cause you to go broke faster than you expected. Remember to subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so yet so you don't miss any future secret tips like this. Let's get on with today's video. All right, so now let's go over what the sequence of return is. So sequence of return is basically the order in which our returns come in. So if we look at the screen here, we can see that this is the order that the market did from 2000 to 2018. So we had, started off with 3 losses in a row, some positives, followed by a big loss, and then a mix of positives and losses after that. And then we ended up with a real return of 2.8% on the S&P 500. So that was just that sequence. So what would happen if we change the sequence or change the order in which the gains and losses occurred in? So in other words, we're going to keep all the numbers the same. We're just going to change the order in which they occurred. So I'm going to go up here and this round button, it's going to jumble everything for us. Again, it's not changing any numbers, just jumbling the order. So if we change this and we don't have 3 losses in a row, do we think that this total return is going to be higher or lower? Let's find out. So here I hit random and it jumbled everything for us. So now we're starting with 4 positives in the row, and we see we still ended up with 2.8%. So let's do it again, and again, and again. So you see the sequence of return really doesn't change our total outcome as long as we're not taking any money from it. So while we're working and building up these accounts and not withdrawing any money, the order in which we got our returns in really doesn't matter. It's all going to work out the same in the end. However, when you enter retirement, you actually want to start spending and using the money you've worked so hard to save up for. That's when the sequence of return can either make or break your retirement. So now let's go ahead and put 4% in here. Now, where does 4% come from? So where does this 4% come from? Well, it's an old financial rule created way back in the 90s. And it was basically made out of a necessity to see what kind of withdrawal could we take without running out of money. And they found that if you just took 4% a year off of your retirement portfolio, you'd stand a 98% chance of making it through retirement without running out of money. Now, this is back in the 90s, back when interest rates are higher, the market didn't have those big crashes in the early 2000s, and things were just different then. And we don't know if things have changed since then. Interest rates are pretty much near zero. The markets have gone through some significant fluctuations since then. So Morningstar, an independent research firm, actually did a study and said if we applied the 4% rule to today in 2020, you'd only stand about a 50% chance of making it through retirement. So in other words, a coin flip would determine if you had enough money to last throughout retirement or if you ran out. So I reset it back to 0, and now I'm going to show a 4% draw. So if I take 4% off of this account, we see that we have 4% or $4,000 coming off the account every single year. You can see, fast forward to the end, we end up with a 0.7 rate of return. So you can see with this sequence, taking 4% off per year, we drew our retirement from $100,000 down to just $33,000 in just 19 years. So that gets kind of scary. Now let's go ahead and do the same thing again, hit this round button and see if it changes. So we'll see if it increases or decreases or stays the same. So I hit random here, let's see what happens. You see it went up now to 1.4%. Do it again. Now we're at 2.1, 2.6, 3%. So in other words, the sequence of return really doesn't fluctuate so much unless we start taking money out. So why is that and what's going on here? Well, because we're taking money off of this account, even though we get a positive return, we're taking some of the interest away from it. So we're starting off with slightly less than we would have otherwise. And when we run into years where there's a negative rate of return or no return at all, we're actually dipping into the principal. So in other words, our withdrawals are compounding our losses. So in this year here, when I said we lost 10%, really we lost 14% because we took that withdrawal out. So you can see these rate of returns, depending on the sequence they occur into, can have a significant impact on how much money you have in the end. So the fact is, there's still many advisors out there that still follow the rule of 4%. So you can see it can actually run us into some trouble down the road. If we reduce our percentage, we can stand a little bit better chance of making it through retirement with enough money, but the trade-off is we're going to get less income from those portfolios. Now, if we apply the same exact situation to an index account that we looked at in our last video, remember this is an index annuity where we're going to get 50% of the gains in exchange for no losses. So remember that this is that index annuity that protects us from all market losses. And the trade-off for that is we're only going to get 50% of any gains given. So our fee in this case is the 50% of gains that we're giving up. Now, the percentage of gains we get is going to fluctuate depending on the company and where interest rates are. We're going to use 50% as an example. So if we apply this exact situation using an index portfolio, we see that when we take money off of these accounts and it is a down year or a negative year in the marketplace, all we're doing are dipping into the principal. So in other words, it kind of works like a bank account. We didn't have to make up or take additional losses. So if we fast forward to the end, we can see that even in this scenario, we end up with 4.3% or rather than 1.5%, and we have more money in the end than we started off with. So you can see as we continue hitting this random button here, and it changes all the values. So you can see we can keep hitting that random button all day long. And for the most part, this index or protected side is going to give us a high rate of return and leave us with more money than we started off with in the end. And the reason for that is because we took the market risk off the table. It's really hard to keep growing your accounts in retirement when you're pulling money off and the market goes negative because it compounds your losses. When we eliminate that factor using this index side, all we're doing in a down year is taking from our principal. We don't have to make up for those losses. And so it stands a much better chance of making our money last throughout our retirement. So even if the strategy looks pretty cool, it's not a guaranteed play, and you still have a slight risk of running out of money down the road if interest rates were to decrease or the performance of the market wasn't where it needed to be. But you can see it's a little bit safer than being 100% in the marketplace. So if you want to make sure your retirement income is absolutely guaranteed, you're going to want to use an income annuity. And I have a complete video at that I'll post at the end of this, so you can learn more about that. All right, so that wraps up secret number 4. Thanks for watching, and remember that your future depends on what you do today.